Hey everybody, what is up? This is Devin, LaVore, and
Michelle LaVore
coming at ya. So, we just want to say welcome to our channel. We like to have fun here as we talk about spiritual things, deep spiritual things. And we just pray that this video, as all of our videos, are a blessing to you. Welcome to the channel. God bless all of you. And we just also like to say up front all the time that we are a support-based channel. Right now, we're a support-based channel. And we just super appreciate everyone who gives to us. We just love every single one of you. And we just really see it as like the hand of God in our life. And it's just so awesome. Praise the Lord. And if you guys would like to give and you feel led to give, you know, especially as we're coming into this weekend, you know, this is a need every week and weekend. But there's a PayPal link below, and just go ahead and click it, and you know, give as the Lord leads, right?
Yeah.
And so this is really cool. Okay, let me see. We went through that 7 days of time two. And then it ended with this whole day of like God just speaking to us. Well, it started with a God time, but about hiddenness and manifestation. Mm-hmm. And we talked about the last 2 days and the hiddenness and manifestation part in our last video. Well, then Monday came, and it was like totally different.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it was 100% different. I think that's actually when we did the video, when we recorded the video, yeah. But when we were recording our last video, we were in the midst of this, wow, everything is totally different. God is done with the time twos. He's letting us know what's going on there, but it's like, okay, we're moving on to something else, right?
Yeah. And
I got up that morning and just everything felt so different. And I was like, man, what is going on? And I was, long story short, I asked everybody else during the God time, I was like, are you guys feeling anything different? And what did you say? You're like, I kind of feel empty. Mm-hmm. And then what did Elias say? I forget what he said. Our 6-year-old, he said something about, I just feel like everything's just kind of blank. Or what did you say, buddy? So I just talked to him. He's sitting right there. And he was like, he just felt like it was like a fresh start.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's amazing. Because I was feeling that. I got this vision of the Lord just coming in and just, like, we used to have this whiteboard. If you watch any of our videos from when we lived in Lee Summit, in Kansas City, basically, you say Lee Summit, and people are like, where's that? Yeah. It was in Kansas City. We had this whiteboard that we did a lot of our videos in front of, and that was when God was first introducing us to prophetic numbers. And
yeah.
That thing would be full. Some days it would have so much stuff on it.
Yeah.
Because that's what God was working on. And then every once in a while, we would have to wipe it off.
Yeah.
You know? And I just felt like the Lord gave me a vision. It wasn't a feel like. God gave me this vision of this whiteboard. It was completely wiped. Mm-hmm. And I was like, whoa. So that's kind of like what God was doing on Monday.
Yeah. And then it was really cool because Monday night, I was just, we got the Lana Vosser posted up a word. And
thank you.
I was just kind of like skimming through it. But at the very bottom, like the last thing she was talking about was like to this, she felt like with the Lord there was like a blank page and to start over.
Oh, start a new page this week.
Yeah.
Right?
And it was just like start over, and just that idea of like, hey, here's a blank page, a blank white page, and it's like I want you to just start just like go back to the Lord and ask Him for strategies and what are you saying, and that He's going to pull out some of the weeds that have been there, but then also like you'll hear some of the same things, but then He might be adding new things. And so That's kind of really where we've been since Monday. Yeah. Is just in this place of like, okay, Lord, like what are your strategies? Like what things that we thought were you, or anything like that the Lord just might want to take out, or new things that He wants to put in. And so that's kind of just the place that we've been in. And I've kind of felt like, it's kind of like with the Israelites, all of Deuteronomy, He was speaking to them of, this is what your life is going to be like going into the new place.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also letting them know,
it was time twos.
Yeah, it was all the time twos. And
it's time for this. It's time for that.
He's spent a lot of time just, hey, these are the time twos of like what I'm speaking right now. But also know, like, the whole idea of a choice has been a really big thing that the Lord's been speaking to us too. He's like, you can choose life or you can choose death. And he was kind of, that's all in Deuteronomy. It's like, you can choose me and this is what I'm telling you is going to happen. Or you can choose to go this other way and I'm telling you what's going to happen here. But then, and then just in the time twos, it's like, but this is what I'm declaring.
Right.
This is what I'm speaking
right.
for this time and season. If you come along with me, this is what I'm declaring. And then, with Joshua, as you go into the book of Joshua, the Lord starts giving him the instructions for how to get the very thing that the Lord has been speaking about. And so it's like we've had this week of, the time twos, this is what I'm declaring, and now it's kind of like the Lord speaking, these are instructions that I'm giving to you for how you're going to experience all those time twos in your life.
Yeah.
And so that's just kind of where we're really at right now.
Yeah.
And just listening to the Lord, listening for, okay, what are your instructions? And some of them really are. It's like, oh, you've been speaking to this whole time.
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
Nothing like round-shakingly new, but then
Yeah.
there's just been some things that he's added as well.
Well, Monday was ground shaking because on Monday morning, we got into Isaiah chapter 6, and I really felt the heavy presence of the holiness of the Lord, and I was like, whoa, and it's that part where he has the vision of the Lord, and he's seated high and lifted up, and and it was like, woe is me, I am a man of unclean lips, and I live in a nation of unclean lips, and the coal touches his lips and he's taking his sins away and all that. And the Lord was really like, the first thing I'm writing on the whiteboard, the first instructions I'm giving you is mercy and grace. My mercy is going to cover you. I'm not going to be, this is my judgment upon your issues. All of your current issues, your present tense and your future tense issues, I'm going to have mercy. If you follow me, if you continue to walk in my ways, I'm just going to have mercy. And meaning like mercy is going to forgive you, but I'm also going to give you the power to live the way I want you to live and the way you want to live, in that intimacy of relationship. That because later on he gave me a Zechariah 3:7 that talks about walking in my ways and you will have access to my presence.
Yeah.
And that was that day. And then and it was just like, that is amazing. And then on Tuesday, what happened yesterday? What was yesterday's?
It was the Lord was really talking about, be led by my spirit.
That's it.
And
we were like, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, that's one of those things that's like, okay, you know this already, but I'm letting you know that's the strategy.
Yeah. Well, and it's the strategy that the Lord's like, hey, like I'm just, let's keep doing that. Keep being led by my spirit, because
the ancient way.
The Spirit of God will lead you into the life, into all of the time twos that the Lord has spoken. But and so it was just like, because there's a lot of different things that the Lord can touch on. I know Lana Vosser had it in her word that she released about to be careful about the busyness and getting super busy even as things unfold, and there can be a temptation to start to be like, ooh, okay, let's just start doing more and more and more and more, in whatever it is that the Lord is starting to release to you. And it's like, no, we want to move by the Spirit of the Word and not by our own drive.
Well, you can feed off the energy of momentum.
And so even in that, it really just comes back to being led by the Spirit. And I think there was quite a few just small things that it was, if you just boiled it down to, okay, if you could take all of these, what would be the answer to all of these things? It was just like, we'll just be led by the Spirit.
Right.
And so that's really what the Lord was speaking yesterday, was just to be following after Him.
Yeah. Well, I woke up yesterday. This is really cool, because I woke up yesterday morning And I just felt like the Lord was saying, I'm packing you up.
Oh, yeah.
I'm packing you up. I'm loaded. And I was like, these are the instructions. And it was really cool because we always felt, you heard a long time ago that like with the blessing that the Lord's going to release to us, there was going to be instructions that come with it.
Yeah.
And we felt like, wow, man, this blank page, this fresh start, and all this stuff. And, you know, we've gotten see, this is how God works in the prophetic signs. We even get prophetic signs that says, looking for a new start. It's like, what? That just said it. And it kind of leaps out at you like a scripture would if you're reading a Bible verse and it just leaps out at you. It's like, that's the Lord speaking that to your life right now. We're like, okay, yeah, we're yes, fresh start, new thing. And God's like, I'm packing you up. These are the instructions. I'm giving you the instructions. And that's what a lot of us were talking about, right? The instructions. Ask again for the strategies and all that stuff. And it was like, I'm packing you up. And then I had this vision. I was reminded of the vision of us in the wilderness, and we're surrounding Jesus, and there's a bunch of us, and we're going so fast around him, it creates this tornado around him, and he reaches out his hand and he launches people forward. Well, he launched us forward, but there's so many different aspects of the vision. But one of the aspects of the vision that just we haven't really talked about that much is there's like this pause. This slight pause just before we're launched out. And we're all just loaded up with this stuff. And then we're all looking at the Lord. And he's like, it's like he's saying something to us. We don't know what it is. But our whole family's just looking at him. And then he just like, boom. It's like he presses a button. It's like those final instructions before the roller coaster guy hits the button and you launch off on the roller coaster. It was kind of like that. And he launches us out. Yeah. And then he gave me this other vision of him pulling back an arrow. It's like he pulled back the arrow, and as the arrow got like right here, he turned to it and he whispered things to it, and then he released it. So it's like there's a pullback and then there's a release, and that's all motion, but then there's a pause as God's whispering things to you. Now, if any of you like took my advice and listened to that Kay Nash video that she just released about Yom Kippur. I always have problems saying that. Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur. But anyway. But she said, like, this prophetic word that I'm releasing, may not be applicable and manifest in everybody's life just because, it's been prophesied, therefore it's automatic, I'm just going to receive it. And I was like, wow, during these last couple of days, I've been seeing the truth of that, because I believe it's like when the Lord pulled back the arrow and he spoke, he was whispering. It was like he was whispering in the ear. You can't be all caught up in the momentum energy and doing stuff and whoa, going here and doing that, and then be listening to a whisper. And then get the instructions and the strategies that are going to lead you to success. It's like it's not going to happen. I think that's why God started off our Monday with just this holy hush. Yeah. Just like a holy, like, start fresh. Let's listen in to what the Lord's doing, because he's whispering things, he's speaking things, and there are things that you can miss if you're not listening. And so I thought, like, wow, I was like this. I think I am not prophesying. I just think that this is the Lord. But I really do believe this is that time. I'm not going to say this is that week, but I'm just saying this is that time of as the fresh start has begun, as the new thing has begun. And I've been getting 888s like crazy for the last couple days. That's a manifestation of a new beginning. Like, you're getting ready to see a new beginning. It's just not just a single number 8. When you get the triplicates, the 777, 333, 888, that means you're getting ready to see the manifestation of that number. And sure enough, we're in it. So yes, so this is that week of the pause. This is that receiving of the strategies, because after that, there's going to be a launch. There's going to be a release. Again, we don't know when and how, but we just know we're following the Lord. And in the midst of it, a lot of us are said in that little blurb that we did read about God weeding out some things that were really not of him. And I lost it inside. I about had a conniption, because I was like, oh no, that means probably this thing that my heart is really set on is not the Lord. Great. that is going to be some major disappointment. And then, so how did you address that? You tell the people how you blessed my life seriously.
I just was telling you that weeds are usually not big. They're tiny things. They're just things that, let's just adjust this small movement, and
it's usually like one of the smallest things in the garden.
It's not, you're not digging out a tree or something like that.
It's like I knew that row of tomato plants was not the Lord. I knew it. He's gonna take it all out. It's like, well, that's not weeding, right?
That's like deplanting, if that's a word.
Yeah.
Unplanting.
We just made it. No, but that seriously
like
blessed my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not.
And we've already done the uprooting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And God, this is a time of planting, but even in the planting and the gardening, weeding is a part of that. Just weeding out little things. And I was so blessed because there was I was just thinking our little guy's moving. I was thinking, Lord, you're getting ready to take this big thing out. And you're getting ready to tell me that this big thing here is really not you. And I'm going to be so crushed. Yeah, so God's not see, I think the ultimate thing for the fear, is God's going to uproot the desire of your heart and tell you that the desire of your heart is not His will. Even after He's confirmed it and encouraged you 78 times in the past month, that wasn't the Lord. And by the way, all those deceptive confirmations, He just let those things happen. Yeah, so it's time to take all of that pain that was rooted in there and just uproot it. We're going to call it a weed. That ain't no weed. It's a full-grown tree of deception. Well, it's not deception. It's the Lord. It's the planting of the Lord that He may be glorified. God's planted things in us that He may be glorified. That as they develop and grow and bear fruit in their due season, that He's going to be glorified. And
for us personally, I feel like a perfect example of that is, the Lord, He's given us 3 different places that He wants to send us on our road trip.
Yes.
And those 3 places He's confirmed many times over.
Oh my
but
gosh,
then throughout this process, He brought that to our attention back in February. And but as we've just gone, we've just, we're talking about it and things like that, and we started getting in our mind a particular order in which we would go to the different places. And really, this week, I guess it was Monday or yesterday. This was yesterday. Either way, it was the Lord was pulling up the weed as far as saying no, that's actually not the order I want you to go. I have a different order for you, and this is what it is. And it honestly brought about just a lot of actually joy
and relief.
And just kind of this is actually way better than what we were thinking. And so it's tweaks like that. It's that, let's just take this thought out. That's
literally what it is.
Because really, the truth is, it's important that He does that. I think, that image of Jesus whispering to the arrow, I believe it's He is giving the instructions basically to the arrow, and the arrow is His people. Giving, for us, it's we are the arrow. And so that when He releases the arrow, it goes exactly to where He wants it to go.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of the instructions. And I think the whole point of Him weeding out certain things, because He's I want this to hit the mark that I have for it.
Yeah.
And so it's by Him just changing that, it's now we really have that. We know the direction in which we're going, and even, and just especially just even in just the road trip, and it was just oh, okay, and it actually brought even more joy. And so that was just one of the things that the Lord was speaking to us about.
Yeah, well, and God's done some heart weeding as well. The way we think about Him, and the part of that healing of the relationship, comes with weeding some things out, and we've experienced that. Not fit for a video, sorry, but but expect that to happen too. But for me, it was a great thing to realize, like when you said that's weeding is just little things,
Yeah.
little tweaks here and there, little, oh, let's pull that out, because if it grows, it's going to take over the whole garden. And I've just been informed that it's not necessarily not fit for a video, it's just not ready to be served.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so if you're not going to share yours, I'm not going to share mine. So
Hey, if your cake is done, you can share it.
I should share because I'm a sharer. So here we go. Anyway, so one of the heart things that God weeded out of me is this fear that I've had of failing him later on. Because I think like a lot of times, like we all know that we're human and we can make mistakes and we can fall into things that we didn't know that we were going to fall into and all that stuff. And for me, I'm like totally terrified. I want to be a Joseph. I want to be a Daniel. I want to be a Jesus. You know what I mean? But then you have those David situations where, you know, those Bathsheba type situations, and totally on. I mean, that's just been brewing in my garden of my heart for years. Like God's gonna bless me and take me into an area of life I've never experienced. It's gonna be so amazing. I'm gonna be so excited, and I'm gonna mess it up. And then it's just like God's like, and so He took that out. He weeded that out of me, and it was just like, don't you realize I've prepared you for that already? Mm-hmm. That's what all the preparation's for. You, it's like, okay, you're afraid that the fox is going to come into the garden. That's why I put up all the anti-fox fencing. Yeah, go ahead, let it try. Mm-hmm. It's going to get electrocuted, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's true, you know? And God's like, you have a heart for me, you know, don't worry about that. But besides, don't let your heart be troubled. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
And so that was just, and for me, that was just a little tweak. It was just like this little weed that's been in there for a while. He's just like, oh, let's just take that out now. Mm-hmm. You know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, has been happening. And then, did you want to say anything on that?
Well, I guess just that, which kind of goes into something that the Lord's been saying is to just be free. Yes. Our son had that vision recently. I think we shared it in our last video of going from like one
yard.
Field and into another field. But then once we were in the next field, the Lord was just saying, be free. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where the Lord has us. He's like, I want you to be free.
Yeah.
Man. In like so many areas of life, and just be free to go after the things that I put on your heart to go after.
Yeah.
And so that has also been another like kind of instruction, is like to be free. And that's why the Lord is like, I gotta weed some things out so that you can be free.
And that you can be free to be led by my Spirit. Because if the Spirit's leading you and you're going to, we're going to that area? No, I can't have you lead me there.
Yeah.
It's like, no, come on, let's go. Oh, no. That's not, no. Well, then it's like if he just weeds that out of there, it's not even there to be a distraction anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that's kind of maybe something I wanted to touch on too, is that like, I know for myself, like the Lord, I feel like He's leading me to just allow Him to open me up to a gift that He wants to give me, that I am just kind of like, I don't know, it feels so opposite of me that it's just like,
I see what you mean now by it's not baked.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Some of this stuff is not baked for you. Look at me. I'm like a flash muffin. Ding, done. You know, strawberry shortcake play oven. Bing, it's done. Yeah. You're more like a slow cook, bake in the sun all day, let it rise, and then tomorrow we can put it in the oven and it'll cook for 4 hours.
Yeah.
You know?
But I just feel like the Lord, He's just really like just wants it's that whole like, hey, let's just receive this. And let me just work this out in your life. And I'm sure there'll be more that I will share on that later. Yeah. But that's just like this
I am excited to see that video.
Small sliver of just, you know, and it can be like, it can be difficult because it's definitely a place where I'm just like, I personally am just like, that is so not me at all. And part of me just wants to be like, no, I don't even want that gift. But then I'm like, well, I don't want to reject the very thing that the Lord is giving to me, and
who He's made you to be.
Yeah, and
you know?
so it's like, okay, Lord, and I think that's where He's like saying, like, I want you to be free, to be all who I've made you to be, which means that you need to go into places either you've never been before, or places that they are you, but it's just been, that feral ground, like it's just, we've never sown anything here, or, that kind of thing. So
fallow. You mean fallow?
What did I say?
You said feral. Like wild.
Well, it is probably
relate.
kind of.
You said feral ground. I'm like, that is so funny. We're so not editing that out. That is hilarious. Girl said feral ground.
Well, it was something like that.
Feral, fallow, same thing.
It's basically ground that's not tilled.
It's wild ground. Oh.
So those are just some of, like, I think the instructions that the Lord has really been giving us. It's like basically like, that we're covered by His mercy and grace.
That's the first thing you need to know.
That's the first thing. We've been, made clean and righteous. That's really for me, like, like it's mercy is grace, but for me, I just really see just how, like, we're made righteous. We're made clean before the Lord.
In right relationship with the Lord.
And it's like, He's like, that's where we're, like, first thing. It's like, just know, like, that's
so God's starting with relationship. Mm-hmm. How interesting.
Yeah. And then it's like being led by the Spirit, and to be free. And then He was speaking to us. The last thing that we got so far, and it was this morning, and again, it's just kind of
my gosh.
Little tweak is
it is
to be fit, and this is both speaking like spiritually fit, but also physically fit. And for us, that's really just been like a challenge, to just really just be moving, and to get out. And I know for you, that's been like a significant thing. So you wanted to share what you experienced.
Oh, you want me to say something?
Yeah.
I didn't have anything to say, but I'm not going to do movie quotes right now. Sorry. So funny thing is, on the day yesterday, God's like, well, I'm packing you up. Get ready to move. Don't look at your life. Hear what I'm saying in the Spirit and move according to the Spirit, right? So the funny thing is, we actually were doing a lot of packing yesterday, because you tend to accumulate stuff, even living this life. And so I'm just like, we need to take some stuff to storage. And so I'm packing stuff up. And I had purchased these little push-up bars, and this one of those rubber band things with the handles on it. And I was like, maybe I can just get something like that and get going, because I'm always like, I really, really have a deep desire to get fit, but it just doesn't happen. And so as I'm packing stuff up, I saw those things behind this here chair, and I'm just like, man, my heart just sunk when I saw it, and I was like, I'm just gonna take those back to storage. I was like, and I hate to waste money. I don't like to waste it. And the Lord just stepped in, and He was like, whoa, no. Leave those there. Like, why I am not, just because it hasn't worked out, it doesn't mean that that's not me. And I'm like, but Lord, look at what has happened. It's the same thing that has happened the last 49 times. Yes, I said 49. The last 49 times I've tried this. I get excited. I really, really want to do it. I have every intention of doing it. But then I just get super tired. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to pick the right time to do it. And I just don't even think about all those things that are happening. But it's like, it's happened the way it always happens. And He's like, don't take them to storage. And I was like, and then in that moment, I was like, whoa, hold on a second. I'm literally having an encounter with the Lord right now. Like, He's literally stepping in to prevent me from doing something that He could have easily just let me do.
Yeah.
He's like, I am not telling you not to work out. I'm telling you, I want you to have that. And I'm like, okay. And so it ended there. And then, we went throughout our day. It was really great. But then comes this morning, and I'm like, and I still have that sense of like fresh start, kind of like we were in a totally different place spiritually. I'm just like, okay. And then the Lord began to speak to me about physical fitness. I was like, are you serious? That's what I'm coming, Lord, I really want the strategies. Because last night it was like being led by the Spirit and all that. And it was like, I'm expecting some dynamic thunderbolt from heaven kind of, yes, the strategy of God. You know what I'm saying? I'm expecting something deep. And God's like, let's talk about that physical fitness thing. And he reminded me of a scripture that says physical fitness is of little benefit, but spiritual fitness is unto eternity. And all that. I'm like, yeah, you know what? And then the Lord's like, but I am not. He showed me this picture of like the spiritual benefit being this really huge thing, but the physical fitness being this little thing. Mm-hmm. It's like a little handful of something. And he said, don't throw that out. He had this hand, and he was like, don't throw that away. He was like, take it. He's like, I want you to take that benefit. And I really felt like the Lord was saying, that's the strategy I'm speaking to you about today. I want you to be physically fit. I want you to do that. And it makes sense but first of all, and he was like, we're done. Come on, let's go. Let's research. Long story short, I ended up finding a program that I already knew about. And I'm just like, yeah, this is going to be great. This is so cool. I can't believe you're behind me to do this. That's actually one of the strategies that you have for us that you're packing on to us is be physically fit. It seems so insignificant in comparison to prayer, praise, spiritual warfare, fasting, the blood of Jesus, and all those things. We're expecting some sort of something like that, and God's like, no, let's get fit. Let's get physically. I'm like, what? And it's like, it's really cool because first of all, God's like, I know that it's a special desire of your heart. You really, really want that. I want that for you as well. So I'm addressing it. Let's talk about it. Mm-hmm. Very relational thing to do, but it's also something that he actually wants. There's that side of it. But then there's also the actual practical side of it in that the things that God has called me and Michelle to do and the things that we're kind of doing right now, they're very sedentary things.
Yeah.
Writing books, writing music, all that's a sit down kind of job. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're working through a chapter or you're working through some verse of a song and you might get up and pace the floor. I've paced many a floor. But then you sit back down to do your thing. And then once you're done with that, you go, you get some food and you go sit down in front of a TV. There's a lot of sitting down that happens when you're, a writer, Mm-hmm. And God's like, there's a practical aspect. Jerry B. Jenkins, who's sold 70 million books, he says, this is how I do my writing routine. I do this, I do that. But he's like, I also, something very, very important to a writer, and he was like, you may not believe this, and it may not seem to fit into what you might think is important to a writer, is physical fitness. He's like, because you're sitting at a desk all day. 6-7 hours, just type. You better be getting some physical fitness in. You better be working out every day, doing something every day. And I was like, wow, the thing that I thought was insignificant is actually significant. So I thought that was really cool. So again, but what does it do? Another aspect of that is it touches on the weeding thing about it's such a small thing that has significant impact. If God can weed something out of your life that's a small thing, it's going to have a significant impact on the whole picture because, like Jesus said, a little leaven spoils the whole lump. It leavens the whole lump. So it's like if God can, put the physical fitness in you, that's why we need to get Rhodesian Ridgebacks because those dogs, you got to be running. You got to be they will make you be physically fit, But it also, in getting that word, it's a significant thing that actually has very significant impact. Yeah. You might think it's insignificant, but also it touches on that word of, because we both we're both very we want to be physically active. Mm-hmm. And it touches on certain promises regarding healing and running and physical activity that you just love to do. You want to do. And it's it was so super awesome that God is I really feel like God's just speaking tenderly right now. which is kind of probably that it's that arrow whispering to the arrow thing. He's just speaking so tenderly right now to his people who are wanting to listen, who are getting close to him during this time of the fresh start and having him write some stuff. Because if you're busy and you're just go, the things that God might say will be missed, or they'll just be jumbled in a whole list of other things. And it's like God's had to erase everything for us. It's like, okay, you guys, you got that? You do? Yes, Lord, we do. Okay, erase. It's like, what? What are you doing? It's like, that's okay. It's not up to you to remember. I will remind you. That's my job. I'm the Spirit of God. That's what I do. You know, I'm at your service. You know. But yeah, so as of right now, that's kind of like where we're at in the instructions of things, and it's. So, did you want to?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to also say, like, I just believe that, you know, we are receiving instructions from the Lord this, you know, in these last few days. But I just feel like, you know, along with just, it's like it's a continual thing.
Right.
Like, it's not like, okay, you receive your instructions this week and you're just, there are no more instructions for, you know, because it's like, you know, the Israelites, when they were going into the promised land, they were constantly receiving words from the Lord. They were constantly asking him, like, okay, we're in this situation. What do we do? And the Lord had different instructions for different things that they were doing. And I just believe that's the same with our life, that we really need to, you know, constantly be, okay, Lord, what are your instructions for things that you might come up, you know, it's like
in his face,
you know, whatever the Lord is asking you to move into in this season and time, or, you know, whatever it is, it's like, okay, Lord, what do we need to do to prepare? How do we go about doing these things in our life? And really just listening, sitting, and, you know, not necessarily sitting. You don't have to sit to hear the Lord. You could be walking and hear, you know, God speaks. But it's just that heart that's saying, Lord, I'm listening to you for your instructions, and I'm going to carry those things out.
Yeah.
But, you know, and really, again, it does go back to just the being led by the Spirit. And if you're led by the Spirit, He will give you wisdom. But it's also that Jeremiah 33:3, continuing to ask, continuing to go after the Lord and saying, like, all right, Lord, I'm up against this thing. How do you want us to approach it? What do you want us to do? Because, you know, it's that idea of not leaning on your own understanding. That's been something the Lord's been speaking a lot for a while now, like the whole year, if not, well, really before that as well. But it's like you might have your ideas of, oh, this is how we should do things, but saying, okay, Lord, how should we approach this?
What's your plan?
You know, because the Israelites, Jericho. Oh, well, this is how you do it. You go and you start blasting down walls. And it's like, okay, Lord, what is your strategy? You know, and Joshua received the strategy and instruction from the Lord. And it was totally different than anything probably anyone had ever heard of.
One of the best strategies in all history.
But then their next city, they didn't do the same thing there that they did with Jericho. And so I think that's just a really important thing to remember as well.
So
that,
good. So good.
As we go to continue to seek the Lord for how He wants to do things in our life. So
yeah, I just feel like the Lord's saying there's going to be some Jericho strategies. The Lord's going to be asking you to do something that seems weird. Seriously. I mean, when the Lord first asked us to live this life, I thought it was weird. But I was like, I'm used to you asking me to do weird things. So even though this is a new weird thing, I know it's going to pan out and it's going to be okay. We might go through some ups and down, roller coaster, whatever, but you're going to be with us and we're going to be fine. You know, and of course I am really in the Lord's face at that point, because we're both like, okay, we're both not working. Oh, Lord Jesus, this is no joke, you know, but it's fine. You know, like the Lord will take care of you. If it's really Him, there's just nothing He's not going to do.
Yeah.
You know, even if it does seem like you're chained to one guard on this side and chained to another guard on that side. That's okay. He's got an angel appointed to you. He's coming in about 10 minutes or so. So, and you'll be set free to do what God wants you to do. So so Lord's going to be asking people to do some Jericho type strategies. Some 2 Chronicles chapter 20 verse, I forget what it is, where he puts the army behind the praise team, that kind of stuff. And it's going to seem very insignificant and kind of weed pulling. It's going to seem like that. It's going to be like, you mean you want us to just walk around the city once, quietly? That's it? Yep, that's all you're going to do for the day. That's it? It's like, that's it, right there. I felt like the Lord's going to say, there's going to be a lot of that's it's. Like, that's it? That's what you want us to do?
Yeah.
You want us to do that to get that result. Head scratching, buffering. You know what I mean? But God's like, yeah, that's what's going to happen. I'm going to ask you to do this, and it's going to seem so ridiculously insignificant, but it's going to be like a bomb in the spirit, and it's going to just do amazing things, because that which God is getting ready to deliver you into, he can only get the glory for it. Only he's going to get the glory for that. Crossing of the Jordan, the tearing down of the Jerichos and all that, just only he's going to get the glory for that. Like, wow, that was only the Lord. I stirred the cake a little bit, and then out popped this,
Yeah, we went, it's like a Gideon with the 300 men, and they went with clay pots and torches.
Thank you.
And,
thank you.
And didn't they have one other thing?
I think they had a loaf of bread and they threw it into the camp. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but it's like, again, that was a strategy that it was like, okay, this is, and that's actually something else that I felt like the Lord was saying is like, it's imperative to believe.
Oh,
and because you were talking about that, but it just really hit my heart because when the Lord is speaking strategies for different things in our life, it's imperative that we believe that that is what he wants us to do, because then we will act upon it.
Right.
It was imperative that Gideon believed the word of the Lord. And it was, with Gideon, the Lord knew him, and it was just like, hey, and if you're still afraid, go down to the camp and find out what they think about, the Israelites, and he goes down, and that's where he hears, they're talking about the dream that they had and how the Israelites were going to come, and it gave Gideon the courage to do the very thing that the Lord had asked him to do, which was to have the men have torches and clay pots, and then all they did is they hid the light, and then, let's just smash them to the ground and yell and
for the Lord.
Yeah, and it was just like, and then these armies, I mean, there was thousands.
It's like, oh no, we're overrun.
Hundreds of thousands.
We're overrun.
Like, just running away. And it's like, that's the kind of things that the Lord is going to be doing in our lives, where it's just like, whoa, okay, this is totally different. That's not the way that I would have thought we would go after this thing.
Yeah.
And so it really is imperative to believe the words of the Lord in this time, because he's like, I am going to speak things that you're going to be like, what? But I'm telling you, the result is victory. Yeah, so I think that's all that we have for you guys today. And just pray that you guys are blessed and just be listening to the Lord for just his instructions for, you know, what he is speaking over your life. You know, your instructions are going to be different than our instructions. But then there are going to be things that are for everyone. You know, listening to the Holy Spirit, being led by his Spirit. You know, there's things that...
being covered in the mercy and the grace.
Exactly.
You know?
That's for everyone. You know, freedom is for everyone. Believing the words of the Lord, that's for everyone. But it's like there are going to be specific strategies for you in your life that only God himself can give to you. And so just be listening to him for those things, asking him, and just be ready to hear from the Lord as he speaks. So until next time, guys. we will see you later.
Bye-bye, guys. Love ya. See ya.
Bye.